So it's a very much a retail thing. Now retail is now getting the picture that precious metals are on the roll. You know, it will be somebody down the bar, oh, I bought silver coins 2 years ago and I'm such a clever boy. And someone goes down there, yeah, give me another beer. And have you got a good phone number for I can buy some of that? So we're at that moment when retail is kicking in.
You're watching CapitalCosm. My name is Danny. It is September 10th, 2025, and my guest today is Clem Chambers. Clem, thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, great to be back.
Let's dive right in, Clem. What's on your mind today? What's the top news story or the top item that should be on the minds of investors out there?
Well, I mean, I must say I'm transfixed with all the precious metals because every time they do their thing, I'm kind of expecting it. So there's nothing like having an asset which you predict and then it turns out that you're right. I mean, what could be better? And I haven't been talking about gold and silver and platinum and palladium all these months and not be really rather long. So it's all coming to pass. I mean, there's some negative aspects of that, I think, on the basis that it's all about how unhappy the world is with each other. And that's what's driving the prices. So, but nonetheless, you trade what you see and you invest in what you think you're going to make a profit on. And that really boils down to global tension. I mean, I don't know if you saw the news, but the US is saying that all the lampposts are full of Chinese spyware. And I thought that was quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, let me just put it that way. They've been saying that, a lot of the equipment in our things like our solar-powered lampposts, all their inverters seem to have radio transmitters in them. And we didn't buy any radio transmitters and we weren't told there were any in there. And they're not saying they're from China, but of course, obviously, it's all from China.
And no one bothered
places like Denmark have been going, our solar panels, they've got radios in them and they've got cameras in them. And what they're doing in there. And that's the sort of thing that pushes your gold up.
No one bothered to inspect this gear, this equipment beforehand?
Well, no, I mean, you buy your solar panels from wherever you buy them at the right price, and then you screw them in and then you plug them on and everything like that. And then someone might go, excuse me, I'm from the government. Do you mind if I have a quick look at what you bought? Oh, what's that chip there doing? Oh, do you mind if we take one of these away and cut the top off these chips and see what's inside? Oh, it looks like there's a radio there. Oh, how could that be? Like the Hamas guys who ended up with walkie-talkies on the cheap. They ended up going bang.
Yeah, the pagers.
Yeah. So, yes. I think there's the British banned various internet and networking equipment from China. They didn't do it because they hadn't spent money on buying the blooming things. They just checked them out and went, these have got backdoors in, haven't they? Or rather, what does that do? Oh, no. Well, you people, we can't trust you. We're not buying your kit anymore. And of course, I'm sure America's been doing the same thing. I'm sure they've all been doing it. But, when you get to the stage when everybody's starting to freak out, I mean, effectively Biden, before he left, banned Chinese cars from America on the basis that they might all crash into each other if there was ever a conflict.
Yeah, I mean, they called him Beijing Biden back in the day.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, Democrats not known from their anti-socialistic point of view, or for that matter, their anti-Chinese posture. But nonetheless, they still stepped in and made it very difficult for Chinese cars, particularly electric ones, to be imported because of the software. And make of that as you will. It's not good though, is it? But when countries are starting to distrust other countries and not just only distrust them, but consider it a security threat, i.e., you foreign car maker, we consider you a car maker of the the people that we may be in conflict with in due course. I mean, it sets a bad tone, doesn't it? And it's the sort of tone that makes you want to go, I think I need some more gold. Maybe I should have some silver too. So, that's what's driving the price.
And the price really began to rally last week or so. And what have we seen so far this week? In addition to what you just elucidated, but we've also seen this incursion on Poland on the part of Russia. You're starting to see, I mean, you saw the strike on Qatar yesterday on the part of Israel. So was someone in the know that these strikes were coming, and were insiders buying up the gold and silver and things like that?
Okay, my model is this: gold is for war, Bitcoin is for flight. So you imagine that you're a billionaire in Belarus, which is next door to Poland, or for that matter, a rich bloke in Poland, and you hear that there's trouble ahead, and you think you might want to. I mean, it's different for the Polish, of course, because they're in the European banking system, so they can send their money around pretty easily. But if you're in a country where maybe you might consider getting a little bit, then you buy Bitcoin, don't you? So, if there's something bad is going to happen or might happen or looks like it's coming in a few days, up goes Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin had a little bit of a surge before the Qatar thing, and it's surging today. So it would seem that there's a lot in the pipe already, and, it's not going to get any less stressful. And when you see Bitcoin do that, I think, what's going to happen in 3 or 4 days or next week? And it seems like clockwork, something happens. And then, of course, gold just goes grind, because, I'm the finance minister in Nepal, who happens to, well, there you go. People in Nepal, I'm the finance minister. Maybe I need a few of my looted Nepalese wombats or whatever their currency is in Bitcoin, because I might have to head down the mountainside and leg it out into India. And the banking said, I'll put it in Bitcoin. I can. That's good for me to flee with. But if you're a country around there, you think, things seem just are not improving. Let's have a few more tons of gold in the warehouse, please. Yeah, get another 5 tons in, will you? And that's what you're seeing. In fact, you can actually Google the finance minister of Poland holding up a gold bar saying, "We're buying gold. Ha ha, we bought gold. Aren't we clever?" And it's exactly for the situation that you're getting today with these drones, whether they're going over the border on purpose or by accident. And it's still more stress. And state level stress equals state level buying of gold. And, you can't manipulate the price if you're a Wall Street bank, if you've got Poland buying gold and all the countries around the world buying gold. And, I think for the first time, the value of gold reserves internationally is more than the value of dollar bills as reserves. And obviously that's because gold's gone up quite a bit, but also you're going to want to have the international currency of conflict, and that's gold. And that's why it's going up. And until we have a breakthrough in sanity, when is that going to happen? Gold's going to just keep going up, and in real terms, because if you think about gold, what is the use case? Gold jewelry, bangles, dentistry, allegedly, in the old days anyway, and computer equipment, and government reserves for strategic purposes. Well, that use case, that's the big use case. And that use case just got more important. So the real demand for gold goes up. The real value of gold goes up. So gold goes up in real terms. So if you're getting a 5% inflation rate, or whatever the real inflation rate is, you can tack another few percent on top of that for the increased use case for gold. And, you end up with a market that just goes grind. And that's what you're seeing. And the question is, when does it stop? Well, it stops when people start being sensible in governments. And it doesn't seem to be any of that in sight. I mean, there's roadblocks in France. There's Nepal, riots in Nepal. There's bombing Qatar. I mean, where next? I mean, pick a random country. I mean, it'd probably be Micronesia in flames or something. So that drumbeat of increased geopolitical stress creates a drumbeat of a bull market in precious metals.
So you mentioned the use cases in gold. However, you look at the use cases in silver, and the use cases in silver far outweigh the use cases in gold. However, silver is still off its all-time high. I mean, it's getting pretty close. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been making some pretty solid moves to the top, and it's actually been outpacing gold, I believe, over the last couple of weeks or so. But however, why is it that silver has all these use cases, but yet appears to be underperforming the gold price? What's the rationale there?
Okay, well, the way that I see it is that gold is okay. Let's go back a few hundred years. You've got three sorts of money. You've got gold money, silver money, copper money. Gold money is for major purposes, major purchases, houses, land, castles. It is basically, again, for war, because that's the money that countries use to buy soldiers and go on the warpath. And when they get to the end of the warpath, they hope to fill up on gold and come back home again. It's the heavy currency. It's the $100 bill. It's a $1,000 bill. It's the $1 million bill. It's currency for governments and very rich people. Then you go downhill into the normal people, and it's silver. Yeah. So if you're going to go and buy yourself a horse, it would be a bag of silver. And then you go down further. You go down to pocket money, because gold goes in a chest or in a pot and you bury it. So it's for I have to pronounce this right. Caching. It's not cash. It's CACHE, as in chests of gold. Yeah. And then you go down to silver, and that's purse money. You have it in your purse. You have you're wearing your stockings and your curly shoes, and you've got a purse that you hang from a purse belt. It's a sack attached to your belt. Okay. That's where you put your silver. But the copper, which the peasants have, or i.e. the normal people, is in your pocket. And it's just knocking around in your pocket, because it's like your roll of $100 in your pocket. If you lost it, you'd be sad, but you wouldn't be distraught. Whereas if you lost a roll of $100 bills, a couple of $1,000, you'd be crying. And then if you lost 50 grand, you would be you don't want that. It's in the safe. Right? So that's the way money works. So governments deal in gold. Well, people think in silver. And you've seen gold run because governments have been buying it, and now normal people are catching on. So your B2C, your consumers are going, oh, hold on a minute, gold, yes. I need some of that precious metal. Oh, well, I can buy this tiny little coin for $3,000-4,000, or I can buy a sack of coins, and I can have $40 a piece for the same money. I can have a nice big stack of them. I mean, I can have 100 of them. Yeah. I can have 80 times as many coins. I like the sound of that. I'll have that. So it's very much a retail thing. Now, retail is now getting the picture that precious metals are on the roll. It will be somebody down the bar. Oh, I bought silver coins 2 years ago, and I'm such a clever boy. And someone goes down there, yeah, give me another beer. And have you got a good phone number for where I can buy some of that? So we're at that moment when retail is kicking in. And retail is dead interested in silver, because it's their precious metal, isn't it? So silver is now on the way. And silver, because it belongs to the juggernaut that is the members of the public, when it goes, it's going to go, and it is going, and it can have a lot more FOMO than gold. Now, what tends to happen, which is most annoying, is that the places you can buy it go out of stock. You went to that website that was selling gold or silver coins and haven't got any. Or all of a sudden there's a massive premium on it. So, that can slow it down. But then you go on to your Robin Hood or your Charles Schwab and you buy a ETF. And the ETF buys bars, and away you go again. So, the breaks that might otherwise be on silver, for example, which were there maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they're not quite so there anymore. So now silver's running because, the penny has dropped. The silver penny has dropped, and retail is now buying silver.
And what are the signals that you're seeing that indicates to you that retail is getting in on the action?
Well, I have some secret symbols. And one of them is if I do a YouTube, up it goes.
Oh yeah.
I can talk about all sorts of sensible things. all sorts of exciting things. I mean, I had an exciting thing happen to me on the weekend because there's a settlement by Anthropic for the fact that they, purloined a lot of books to train their AI on. And if you're an author and you've got a book, it seems like you're going to get $3,000 handout from the lawyers who sued Anthropic and got a settlement. Well, that's big news. There's 500,000 books out there that they're going to pay out on, but nobody cares. But if I talk about it, yeah, most people go, "Oh, I'm not an author. Oh, I'm not going to get $3,000 for one of my books." But people like me who've written 15 books go, "Oh, am I on the list? Am I on the list?" But that's. I do a YouTube on silver, or on Seeking Alpha like I did recently, or on Forbes like I did recently, and everybody's interested. So I can tell from the and you might find out from your YouTube that retail has its eyes on silver. And I've been writing about gold and silver now for months and months. And you get a feeling of what's hot and what's not from that. And I write so much good stuff that nobody cares about. Hey, this is a really good stock. Nobody cares. Hey, this is a crummy crypto. Everybody wants to know. But that's a very good indicator of whether retail is into it or not. And of course, retail is a juggernaut. And most of the time, retail does not care. It wants to know what's on television tonight, or what's for dinner, or something. What happened to some celeb. So money is actually, surprisingly, as you experience, pretty far down the list of B2C consumers' interests. New iPhone, oh yeah, way to make money investing your cash cleverly. I mean, your viewers are really the creme de la creme de la creme.
Oh, thank you.
They know it. Don't you know it? You are the creme de la creme. You care about your finances. You care about what affects them. I mean, it's shocking how few people that is out there, which is why, as Jesus said, the poor will always be with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm super blessed to have an audience with a collective IQ as high as the one that we have here. So, thanks for watching, guys. It's always a pleasure interacting with you guys in the comments section. Always drop me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. But Clem, shouldn't this make precious metals investors and stackers a little nervous now that retail is getting in on the action? Isn't that a sign of a frothiness?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're going to stack, you're going to stack, aren't you? And you're going to stack, and they'll bury 5 kilos of gold in your coffin with you. So if you're that sort of a person, the price isn't kind of important. Your reasons are different. For somebody like me, I like to buy what's going up. I like to buy what's cheap, and then when it's not cheap anymore, I sell it. And a lot of your viewers are going to be sweating because it's not cheap anymore. But it doesn't mean it's not going to get more expensive. So, that's where your investor and your trading chops come into action. If you just believe that you need to put it all into gold and it's generational wealth or something like that, you don't care. You simply just don't care. And if you do care because you're going to sell it at a good price, then it's all about, how high is it going to go? Because you remember, you can always sell at the top and then buy back in halfway down again. You can always, do the trading thing or the investing thing. And when something's is overpriced, then you should sell it. And, that's where I come from. I'll be sweating when it starts to get into the mid 4,000s. I'll start sweating then. But then, if the maniacs of government are running up and down, shouting at each other, then I'll just sit there and go, oh no, this is going to get worse. I mean, when this kicked off, I said, well, this is going to 3,500, but it could go to 5. And if it goes to 5, I'm going to be very unhappy. I'm going to be crying all the way to the bank, because the world's going to be quite a dangerous place at 5,000. And, at 10,000, I'm probably going to have an open ticket to Chile. You know, but why wouldn't it? Why couldn't it? Why won't it? And the answer is, well, because at the end of the day, governmental systems in the West are relatively mature and sensible, and will work very hard for us not to actually get into the hot part of the Third World War. I mean, we're already in it. We're already in the Third World War, but it's a Cold War, and that Cold War seems to be warming up, and pretty consistently, but slowly. I mean, if you drop a few bombs on a Qatar, that does not make the Third World War, but it's on the road, isn't it? And it might be a long road, but we're on it. That's what's driving gold. We're on the path, and it's a very, very, very dangerous path we're on. And hopefully it's very, very long. And hopefully when they get a few more 100 yards down it, they'll go, no. Let's sit down and be sensible about this. But you can't guarantee it. You absolutely cannot guarantee it. And I don't see anybody out there that's a voice of reason. I mean, do you? Is there any? Oh, well, of course. Go. Sorry. Carry on, Danny.
No, not at all. I like to point you towards this example. If you're like a consultant of some kind, the holy grail of a client in terms of finding a client is the government. Why is that? Because the government has pretty much limitless budgeting. And you also don't get the accountability that comes with being a consultant for another private company or a private individual. Because there's a lot less incentives in hitting benchmarks and milestones when it comes to the government. So apply the same aspect to gold. If the government is a big buyer of gold, do they really care as much about the price of gold as much as a private individual would or a private entity would? I would suspect relatively less. No.
I would say two things. I do some work for government. They won't even let me charge a cab fare. I have to,
really?
If I'm going to get reimbursed, I have to get a bus. Wow. I have to sit right at the back of the airplane by the toilet if I'm going to get into rebate. The moment I actually want to sit at the front and
the UK
not
government
get thrombosis, they won't pay for it. So that there's elements of that. But your point about governments and the price of gold is that it's military, and boy, they don't care about the price when it's military, because it's bullets. Gold is bullets. Yeah. So strategically, well, I mean, they do and they don't. If that push comes to the shove, there is no price. But there's all sorts of things that today we've forgotten just what real emergencies are like. Back in 1933, Roosevelt confiscated everybody's gold. He said it's ours now. They just took it. It was a federal felony to hold on to your gold. I mean, imagine that. Okay. So, things can get way, way worse than people are moaning and groaning about now. Things can get way, 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 way more dangerous than people can even remember. Because basically the people that went through the real thing, they're all dead now. You have to be like 100 years old to have been around in the Second World War.
The generation.
So people have lost the benchmark. I mean, obviously, a few people have been in the Middle East and know all about that, and what state they come back in. Yeah, PSDD and all that. The thing that we're heading for, and hopefully they're going to stop heading for it, is absolutely catastrophic, and most people have no idea of just how bad that is. So in that environment, the price, there's not much of a roof for that. But they do things like hand over your pots and pans. They're all ours now. We're going to make them into airplanes. I mean, that's what wars are like. And really, our generations and our parents' generations, and even my generation, has no conception of that world. I mean, food rationing in America. Most people don't realize that in the Second World War, there was food rationing and petrol rationing in America. Yeah. So this la la land fluffy pink bunny Barbie land that we live in today is nowhere near anything as harsh as where you could end up. Because remember, 1929 or 1928, and everybody's doing the Charleston and blah, blah, blah. And, 10 years later, where everything was in a few short years, which your audience will totally relate to, because they often spend time worrying about that. And most people spend no time at all worrying about that. And most people are probably right. But we are on that road now. And we may be at the beginning of it. And you can watch the gold price to see how far down that road we're going. And you can watch Bitcoin. And when it spikes, you can say, oh, what am I going to be seeing on television in a week? Yeah. And as I say, who's the voice of reason? I mean, about the most reasonable voice is the much derided Europe. But, anyone else? I mean, India, they're quite reasonable. And then you're into, China, and you're into America, you're into Russia, all these, very, very stressed out, nomenclatures. And, well, it's that stress that is driving precious metals. That's as simple as that. If you see gold start to go down, then, somebody somewhere is saying, hey, guys, come on. We need to sit down and get this all sorted and stop messing about. But I don't know where that's going to be coming from.
Hey guys, quick pause from the podcast, but this is something I feel is really important to let you in on. Back in 2020, before I even started this channel, I was looking for an edge, a way to find the big opportunities most investors never even hear about. That's when I found Capitalist Exploits Insider. From day one, it felt like I suddenly had my own team of world-class market pros working for me, digging up trades all over the world, doing the deep research, and handing me ideas that had massive asymmetric upside. Stuff that I would never even think about. Since then, my gains with them have blown past the S&P and the NASDAQ, and it's honestly the single best newsletter I've ever subscribed to. And that's not me blowing smoke. That's for real. I've interviewed their publisher, Chris McIntosh, more times than I can count. In fact, my latest conversation with him is linked in the description box down below if you want to check that out, as well as the pinned comment. And every time, I'm reminded why I've stayed a member for years. Right now, they're offering a special $1,000 discount on the Insider subscription, but it's only for CapitalCosm viewers, so you're only going to get it by clicking the link down below in the description box or the pinned comment. You're not going to find this anywhere else. Click the link, lock it in, and start getting the same game-changing research I've been using since 2020. Why haven't we seen oil catch a bit as well? Oil is, usually goes up in terms of war. In times of war, I should say. There's not a single war out there that hasn't been an inflationary war, which also spikes the price of oil. Why do you think oil has been relatively subdued?
You see, I wouldn't put myself down as much of an expert on oil. And yes, I think oil is cheap. And yes, I think it's going to get more expensive. But when you've got the situation we have in the Middle East, where if Saudi Arabia says, oh, we've done a deal, you give us this, we give you that, you give us this, and we'll turn the taps on a bit more, then that oil price is very manipulatable. Yeah, because it's basically controlled by governments. So they can turn the tap on, they can turn the tap off. And I mean, when you think about the price of oil when it was $140 a barrel, that was all highly manipulated. And that was manipulated by people who would get like super tankers and start sailing them towards America. And then when the futures price changed, they'd turn the tanker back around and send it back across the sea again. And that sort of nonsense, yeah, which made the oil price high. Well, it's a geopolitical thing. I mean, oil is not bullets, although obviously America's trying to refill up its strategic reserve. And yeah, it's a supply line thing. And at the moment, it is where it is, because I think America is saying to the Middle East, get that price down. That price needs to be down. If you want us not to be angry at you, if you want us to be, be friendly and all have a hug, then get that price down. And they've also, all the Middle Eastern countries, or a lot of them, are on the tear with spending. I mean, got Saudi Arabia wanting to build strange buildings halfway across their country, and I've got these mega projects on. Well, you've got to pump oil if you're going to, fund all that. And of course, if you're going to, if you pump too much, the price goes down. So you have to pump more, so the price goes down. So there's all those, very, very complicated dynamics in oil. But I suspect that the price is where it is because of America saying, no, cheap oil, please. And however long that carries on going, and it's an open question.
And what else can you extrapolate from, let's say, like bond prices? If you look at the bond market right now, U.S. bond market's going up, but the European bond markets are all, as well as the Japanese bond market, have all been feeling some headwinds. They've been going down. Their yields have been spiking. So what are we to make of those two signals?
Well, okay, Europe is in a little bit of a pickle because it actually has got its interest rates down, and therefore it's a little bit worried about bringing them down any further and getting inflation, and they're a little bit more focused on controlling inflation than America has been. Yeah, and now you've got Trump saying, right, we need to get the interest rates down. We'll be fine. Well, there's no such thing as inflation because I say so, and price of eggs has gone down, and all that rather wild narrative that comes out of the US. But the bottom line is the dollar's too strong. So drop interest rates, dollar weakens, exports go up, imports go up, inflation goes up, exports go up. So your deficit, trade deficit, is improved, and America's going to go a little bit hell for leather, and there's going to be elevated inflation. Yeah, but that means there's going to be QE. So the government, in one form or another, are going to be monetizing their own bonds. Are going to be basically buying their own government bonds to print money, and so you're going to get. There's not going to be low inflation in America, and the dollar's going to be weak, and there's going to be some kind of attempt at a wild economic boom, which is going to be inflationary. It's boom bust economics. It's back to the 70s way of thinking, because the system has decided it has to turn around America's slow glide into not being the superpower, and it's got to reverse China's ascent to being the superpower. And to do that, you've got to go on a sort of Cold War footing. It's a war footing. Again, it's inflationary. And gold and inflation and manufacturing growth and industrialization, all that stuff, it's all inflationary. Remember, the reason why there was been low inflation for all these years is because they say, that's where they put it, America's been importing deflation from China, which is another way of saying it's been buying cheap stuff off China and bringing it in, and that's been suppressing inflation. And increasing a kind of wealth, because the capital in America goes further because it's buying the output of a country which is poor and can make stuff cheap labor, cheap stuff, bring it in, export your money, import the plastic crap from abroad. And that has been the model for a long time now. Well, now China is, manufacturingly dominant in the world. And, if you let that go for much longer, it's game over, isn't it? Because if you think about it, Britain was the workshop of the world, and it was the richest country in the dominant power. And then America became the workshop of the world. And guess what happened? It became the dominant power and the richest country. Well, I better be careful which finger I pick now. Who's the most powerful manufacturing country in the world? Who is the workshop of the world? China. What therefore follows? And what is the American government trying to do? Make America the workshop of the world again, so it can be the dominant power or remain the dominant power.
Is this the Thucydides trap that we've often heard about?
So I didn't quite catch that. What was it?
No. Is this the Thucydides trap? Essentially, when an existing legacy power is in decline and you have an emerging power ascending, and eventually there comes an intersection point where they both meet, where it suits the declining legacy power to knock out the emerging ascending power.
You can't do it. It's not possible. You can't knock out the power because it's mutually assured destruction. You know, in the old days, you could roll up there with your armed forces with guns and have massive battles of slaughter. But now that becomes the slaughter of whole countries because of nuclear weapons. So you can't do, thank goodness, right? Because that's an appalling concept. I mean, it's not why France lost its position as the dominant power. It's not why Britain lost its position as the dominant power. I mean, they all went on self-destructive loops. I mean, the French, they didn't adapt to the Industrial Revolution. They wanted to remain a sort of semi-agricultural aristocracy system. And, you know, the people rose up and tore the system down, and they didn't recover from that. And the British, well, you know, they were too busy enjoying fighting wars, and the whole of Europe put itself to the sword because the ruling family, which was the English ruling family and the Russian ruling family and the German ruling family, all the same family, decided that they should fight it out and slaughter their populations and dissipate their wealth by being stupid. And that's why, you know, they fell. It wasn't one rising dominant country taking over another. It was just a load of stupid governance people, you know, destroying themselves, which is the risk what we're seeing right now. I mean, if it all comes unstuck, it'd be a bunch of stupid government people destroying their own, you know, system. And, you know, America, well, I mean, the Romans fell because they got disease and they just perished and left a vacuum. So the idea of a rising power and the big power attacking them to keep them down, A, that's not practical. And B, I don't really think it happened in history. And it won't happen this time. What is going to happen is if they don't, there's two roads. There's the road to a massive economic boom because of new technology. And you're seeing that with AI right now. And the road to insanity, which we're also kind of heading towards, which is this geopolitical nonsense that we're getting. Because if you go, well, we need to project power and we need to be powerful, and we need to be the leading power. What does that actually mean? The leading power. I mean, I don't have any power in my life, and nor do you, and nor do all the people that watch it. You've got no power. You can't even break the speed limit, you know. So who's this power, and why is it important? Well, because people in power like enjoy their power, don't they? And they often spend our money, you know, showing off, and they spend our money, and often they you know, spend our children on their desire to wear, you know, fancy crowns and say, I'm the king. And I'm not king anymore. I'm a president. That's why I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I'm a president.
Yeah. Well, there's a selection bias. There's a selection bias for sure for people who make it into that position of power, because you're not getting a random sample out of the population. You're getting the most sociopathic, psychopathic people in the society that are cutthroat enough to make their way up to the top.
Well, why would you do it otherwise? I mean, it's a horrible job, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people supported and support Trump because he was given so much grief. I mean, he was absolutely, you know, picked on by a mob of hyenas after he left power. I mean, he didn't get treated much better when he was in the first time round, but you know, when he was out of power, if they just left him alone, if they just said, yeah, he was president once, yeah, forget about him, he probably wouldn't be the president today. I mean, they were treated appallingly, absolutely appallingly. It's an absolute scandal how you know, he was treated when he lost the election. Absolutely scandalous. And I'm sure millions of people voted for him because they were impressed at how much how much punishment he was prepared to take, how much punishment he was taking. Well, why would you want to get into that game? I mean, why would you want anything to do with being in politics? Those people get just terribly treated. I mean, all right, you know, they get well paid and their brother-in-laws get good stock tips and all that. But, you know, any sensible, sane person would say, no, I don't care. No, I'm going that away. Yeah, so it's not just the fact that survival in that environment is a selector, and the absolute focus, and to be so callous in how you're treated. I mean, it's going to be hard for it to be a normal, sensible person in that position. I mean, look at business people; they get eaten alive in politics. I mean, you just look at the history of business people that go into politics. I mean, even Elon Musk with his alien intelligence got eaten alive within weeks. Yeah. So, it doesn't matter if you're so clever that you could become a billionaire. You're not clever enough to be in politics or whatever it is you need. I mean, the time and time again, people who go out from business into politics are absolutely burn up on re-entry almost immediately. I mean, the other guy that went to Doge, I can't remember his name. He didn't even last days.
Oh, Bloomberg from 2020.
Oh, well, not Bloomberg. He didn't. He tried and didn't get very far. No, it was the guy that was with Musk, who founded Doge for Trump. I mean, he went in, took one look, and went, boy. I mean, let you imagine any of those roles that you see out there on any of the sides in the last 10 years. Congratulations, you're going to be the Secretary of Blah. You wouldn't do it. They couldn't pay you enough money.
Yeah. You've got to be a special type of person. Let's just say
very special, very special. And whether it suits you for the job or not is another matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, Clem, it's been a fascinating interview, as it always is, but this one in particular was extremely fascinating. Anything else you want to talk about before we sign off here that we didn't get into?
Well, something that I've been thinking about that I think is coming, and it's worth people. By the way, going back to precious metals, okay, those people that might get nervous that the price is high, just let it run. That's what I would say, and that's what I'll be doing, because when things go up, okay, you can go, right, it's enough, I'm out, okay, and I tend to do that because I get in at the bottom. In fact, I normally get in just before the bottom, ride through the bottom, and I get in kind of 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up, and I get out, and then I go, oh, it's still going. Oh no. One way is to let it go over the top and start coming back down the other side. Yeah. And you don't have to get the top, and that saves you from getting out too early. I mean, the classic for me was I got out Bitcoin at 100,000 because I thought it was going to 120, and I couldn't be bothered with that much when there's that much downside. And there's that way of doing it. So you go, right, set your price. If it hits it, then decide. Or just let it run. And then when it pauses and starts to reprice and go sideways, then think about what you're going to do. And if you go back through, you go onto some financial websites and look at bubbles and look at things that went to the moon and then fell like a rock, you'll see the form that a chart will take. And you can look at a dozen of these markets, .com, just look at all those things that went to the moon and came back down. Look at Tesla. I mean, you can see those chart patterns, and look at those chart patterns and look at many, save them off in a directory, screenshots. And then when you start to sweat, go look at those charts and benchmark where you think you might be in that process. Because the charts, I always say, and yes, it is a joke, charts are really good at predicting the past. Yeah. And this won't be the first time markets behave like precious metals are behaving. So you can go and have a look and use that as a way of going, yeah, I'm out, or oh no, I think I'll change my plan a little bit, or whatever. So that's what people should do if they're the sort that will sell when they think the price is right. Because if it does go vertical, and the missiles aren't flying, it's just gone vertical all on its own, then you can why not take your profit? After all, however much we talk about the dollar and it disappearing and inflation and isn't it terrible, the dollar has gone down 99% since 1832 or whatever, in the short and medium term the dollar isn't going anywhere. Yeah, a few percentage here, a few percentage there, and for some, if you live in a country that takes dollars, and you've got an asset, and that asset's going down, and you've got strong feeling about that, then it absolutely makes sense to swap it into dollars, and then maybe swap it back out again at some other point. But I'm pretty. I mean, I better say this because this is the law these days. I've got a lot of gold, I've got a lot of silver, I've got a lot of platinum, I've got a lot of palladium, and I'm even starting to build up on copper, because long term, copper is going to be a thing, right? Anglo American just emerged with, I think they're called Teck in Canada, to actually create a definitive copper company. Well, they ain't merging billions of dollars worth of enterprise and half the execs getting fired or whatever, laid off, and moving headquarters to here, there, and everywhere on the basis that they don't think copper is as hot as a hot thing in a volcano. But it hasn't happened yet. Copper hasn't done the run yet, and it is going to run, but it's going to probably be a year or so. So you need to look out for copper. There's not much out there, and that's probably why they're merging, right? Because there's Antofagasta, I've pronounced that wrong, in London, and there's Freeport McMoran, which I hold in America. But if you want a good copper play, that's about it in terms of blue chip, big, pure play copper. And people should go look this up on Google, because these are big numbers. They're talking about millions of miles of copper cable having to be installed in the next N years. And that was just for electric cars. That was before the AI thing blew up. And AI is going to need so much copper. I mean, just unbelievable amounts of copper. And they just haven't got it. It's just not out there. So copper is going to go on a run. At some point, copper is going to go vertical. And it's going to do what gold and silver is doing right now, but not for a bit. Or maybe tomorrow, now I've said it. But it's going to happen. It's unescapable that there's going to be a really big shortage of copper somewhere in the next 2 or 3 years, and copper is going to go. It's going to go, and the miners are going to go too. So that's something to watch out for. So at the moment, it's silver, gold, platinum, and palladium, and in due course, this pattern is going to follow with copper, because there's just not enough of it. And remember, AI is going to boil the oceans. That's the thing to bear in mind. AI is going to boil the oceans. So the game is to find the thing that nobody's worked out AI is going to need a lot of, and get it now. Get it laid in. And, the answer, it's not on a postcard. There's going to be plenty of answers, and I'm going to miss most of them. And, you might find one. Oh, it's, I don't know. It's tadpoles. That's what's going to be big. Actually, the thing that I keep scratching my head about, that I'm sure people are thinking about it, but you don't hear about it. All these server centers, all this Bitcoin mining, all this AI, all it does is it makes its digital product and huge amounts of hot air. Huge amounts of hot air. You could have the biggest greenhouse full of tulips on Earth if you stuck it next to a server farm, because it just generates huge amounts of hot air. Now, if you're running a greenhouse, market garden thing, it's awesome. It'd be awesome for that. But they haven't really got a way of taking this hot air, all this heat, and doing anything with it. And it's pure money, right? It's pure money. And it just generates fire. I mean, you put your server fan in Iceland so you can open the roof and cool it down, because it's minus 25 out there. And, that is the problem, that these cooling it. There's a company called Supercomputer, which went on a big run earlier on in the year. And it went on a big run because all it does is it cools down that sort of equipment. It's got great cooling stuff. Well, spending money to take heat to make it cold again, it's like spending money to burn money.
Yeah.
No one's got an application yet to take all that heat. So that's the sort of thing. You go, oh, there's this company that can take heat and turn it into something. Boom, you'd want to buy that because AI will make that company very successful. So AI, do a lot of thinking about AI, and copper is an obvious one that the market doesn't seem to have caught onto as much as it should do yet.
Yeah. Well, that's a very novel way of looking at things, Clem. I may have to start doing that myself. So thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Where can people find you if they want to see more of your work?
Well, you can, I just opened a YouTube channel and it's called Clem Chambers Alpha because I couldn't get Clem Chambers. And every now and again I go on and I do a rant like I'm doing here. I'll just go, oh, you wouldn't believe, but this. And every couple of days I do one of those. So if they want to come along, I'm at Clem Chambers on Twitter. Sorry, Twitter. What am I saying? X.
How dare you?
So people, there you are. It's down at the bottom, there. So you can follow me, and so you can catch up on when I'm going on a rant. And Forbes, I've been writing for them for so long now that my contract's in Latin. I've been writing for them for like 25 years. I do some stuff Seeking Alpha, and I'm always happy to go on a podcast like yourselves. So, come on by and tell me how mad I am.
Yeah. I'm looking at your thumbnails here. I mean, these are some wild thumbnails, guys. You have to check out the channel, guys. So I'll have the link down below. Clem, thank you so much for coming on. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, drop us a like and comment, go Clem, go in the comment section. If you agreed or disagreed, let me know either way. I do, in fact, read all the comments, and by liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the YouTube stuff, it helps boost this channel and this video in the algorithm. So a little bit certainly does go a long way, even though it may not feel like it. And then also, again, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video, but also subscribe to our Substack as well if you want to support us there too. At CapitalCosm.substack.com.
And share. If they can share, that's also really good. Yeah, because I tell you, YouTube doesn't like these finance channels. It doesn't. It wants channels that talk about makeup or whatever that attract young people. Yeah, because young people are easily convinced into buying rubbish from the advertisers. So they'll push down finance channels, and of course, finance channels is where you get your raw material from to make your smart financial decisions. So it's really quite critical for you and others that this sort of content is up there, because otherwise you'll be reading mainstream media stuff with people going, buy this stock, and all that garbage. And to get the real expert niche and alternative points of view, which is what you need as your raw material for your thinking, is channels like this. So, in a way, they deserve your support wherever possible.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Clem. Yeah, go ahead and share the video with your friends and your family, whoever you think would be most receptive to this type of content. I know it's not really for everyone. You've got to be a high IQ individual like Clem alluded to. But I'm super happy to have all you guys on board. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.